The Ryan Stick Show.
Hello, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Ryan Stick Show. It is a beautiful night in Montreal. It is cold as heck, and I am joined by the coolest cast of the coolest game that I have played in quite some time. Please welcome the Guardians of the Galaxy. How's it going?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. What's up?
Not bad. Someone has their YouTube video open, and I can hear my voice in the distant past, but that's okay. How's it going?
Great. Good. How you doing?
Amazing.
Hey, I'm going to shout out some friends. Alan, hi. Serena, hi. Renee, hi. Shannon, hi. Okay, done.
All right, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely awesome. I am so happy that we are doing this. I just finished this game, and my friend Jason Calvi here, I knew he was going to be in the game, and I'm like, that's cool. I hope it doesn't suck, because that'll be awkward. So I figured I'd play this little game that Jason's in, and I'm like, I'll give this Guardians of the Galaxy game a try. And just like from the first moment it starts up, it takes a turn where you realize you're not just playing a video game, you're living an experience. And the Guardians of the Galaxy aren't these random people that say the same 4 or 5 things in the background. They're actual characters. And a few days into playing the games, I'm like, oh my God, I have friends. This is awesome. And something that stands out to me, not only the writing, but the voice acting is on another level. And then when Jason's like, yeah, everyone agreed to do it, I said, crap. Now I'm a fan. This is weird. If I didn't really care about this game, this would be so smooth. But now I got to be Chris Farley on the Chris Farley show to these people. For those of you who get that reference. But thank you very much for coming, everybody. Everybody who loves video games and loves voice talent always wonders when you get the script, did anybody actually know what they were auditioning for? Did anyone key in that this was going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy game?
Yeah.
Do tell, Star-Lord.
There was yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say we've mentioned it before, but when we auditioned for the game, everything was shrouded in a lot of secrecy. Even the scripts that we got to audition with were all code-named. But for me, knowing the universe and being a fan of Marvel, there was a few key giveaways. Mainly, it was Groot's line. I think it was "I love celery" or something.
Celery is good.
But celery is good. Celery is good.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has to be Guardians, and I just went for it, and luckily it worked out.
Oh my God, I love that so much. So, as we were getting ready to do this interview before, just waiting in the waiting room before live time, I couldn't help but notice that you all have the same chemistry in person as you do in the game. When exactly did you all realize you had this chemistry? Because casting is key, but it's a whole other level when you become essentially not only actors in a video game but a band.
Yeah, that's such a good question, And I think the first table read, it's like you get around and you start to see this amazing writing that Mary DeMarle and her team crafted, and that's really where you get a sense of how everybody's going to vibe together. But I think when I started realizing is we're all on set and we start talking just as much, if not more, than we're talking in the scenes off scene. We don't stop. So I think we needed that kind of chemistry off the scene to really get to know each other, become a unit, and then that would transfer in to the scene as well. And it was unmistakable, I think, when you feel that.
I just realized that hosting duty wise, we have all these actors here. We got to take we got to take the audience through who all of you are and who you play in this game, because they're like, that voice sounds familiar, but I gotta put that voice and that face together. To my internet right, I have Jason Cavalier here, my old friend, and also he plays Drax. How's it going?
How's it going? I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thank you very much for happening. And Alex is right on the side of him. Alex, you play Rocket Raccoon. Now, I gotta say, I don't see the resemblance, but I'm glad that you.
Wait, you don't?
How do you not? What are you talking about? You don't see the resemblance. Look at that nose.
Look at his furry ears.
if you think you look like a raccoon, that is between you. That is, I'm glad you feel that way, but that's definitely not something I'm going to jump on.
He's not a raccoon.
There you go. Amazing. Okay, and Robert's right underneath you. Robert, tell everybody who you play.
I am Groot.
Oh.
Groot.
And Groot, how has Christmas gone for you?
Good. I mean, you're surrounded by trees. What could be better?
All right. And right next to him, we have our character that takes us through this universe. We almost experienced this through him. Star-Lord, how's it going, John?
I'm good, brother. How you guys doing?
Not bad. I'm actually kind of blown away by the fact that none of you actually do sound exactly like your characters. Like, you didn't just walk in and sound like Pauly Shore playing a character that sounds like Pauly Shore. Like, clearly you all your acting talent creates that metamorphosis that always still astounds me to this day. I'm like, oh yeah, right. Voice actors aren't just good voice actors. They're also very good at sounding like different things, like trees, not raccoons, warriors from other dimensions, daughters of Thanos, and other things. And speaking of daughters of Thanos, Kimberly, how's it going?
Oh man, it's going. It's going.
Gamora, it is absolutely a pleasure to meet you. You don't have the same hair you do in the game, but your hair is equally cool.
Don't even talk about this hair.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's awesome.
I love Gamora's hair in the game. I think it's pretty cool.
Kim, I think you look great with short hair. I mean, I like your long hair too, but
this is my fan club right here. This is my fan club. We like to jazz each other up and make each other feel really good.
We're getting all these
family.
We're getting all these lovely comments, including from my friend Cliff, who actually I had downloaded the game, but I hadn't played it yet. And Cliff, my friend Cliff, who's a programming director in Montreal and Ottawa Comic-Con and many more, he was raving about how good even the first level was. And I said, okay, I think it's about time I make that plunge. And then like 5 sweaty days later, I was just finished the game and pretty much had tunnel vision until it was done, because there's just something about this game and the writing. So we talked a little bit about, who figured out they were in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I want to know, like, when you auditioned for the role, how did you find your voices exactly? Because your talking voice and your character voices are notably very different. I would love to hear from each of you, starting with Jason.
For me, it was a lot of practice. It was basically, I mean, the writing helped a lot inform what he would sound like. And just constant practice. I have to pitch my voice artificially slightly lower to do Drax properly, but also his choice of words and the way he's phrased helps a lot. And then it's just finding a unique pitch or a unique rhythm for how he's going to answer and how he's going to speak. The challenge for me was to do that during emotional parts. So it's fairly easy to do it for me when I'm speaking just sort of normally or conversationally, but doing it when you're under stress, if he's angry or if he's emotionally distressed, keeping that tone, that's difficult. So that takes a lot of repetition and a lot of practice.
Excellent. And Alex/Rocket, let's hear about you finding your inner non-raccoon raccoon voice.
So I think one of the first things that everybody realized was that, and something that Eidos told us right away, was that they're trying to make a unique universe, right? They don't want it to be comparable. They want to do their own thing, and we did our own thing. So with that came a lot of liberty to kind of bring yourself to the voice. For Rocket, I tried to work from that point. I tried to work from somewhere that was close to me, but I tried to give him a bit of an edge. I just amped him up a little bit, just like I just tried to give him a bit of grit. But Rocket was kind of funny at the beginning because he I think I took it in a lot of different directions that didn't work. And there was a Brooklyn Rocket for a little while. He came in, you know, hey, what are you doing? You know, because I almost sounded Italian. And then I remember like feeling pretty cool. It felt pretty cool that I got this role. But then Daryl pulls me aside and he said, yeah, Marvel says don't do the Brooklyn thing. And I remember just saying, okay, that's cool. So let me just stick more with something that's Alex Weiner. And then, you know, I feel like it's probably very similar for all of us as you get to know your character and you get comfortable with your voice, that true voice comes out and you're able to work from there. So at one point, you know it like the back of your hand, but it takes a little bit of discovery, takes some risks. And I think working from yourself is a good place to start with that kind of thing. That's how I did it, at least.
Awesome. All right, let's continue with Robert, aka Groot. How did you find your inner Groot there? Because your talking voice is, it's pretty chill, but at the same time, you can go low.
Yeah, I mean, I can go so low, and then they help me go even lower artificially, which is super helpful. Because then I can concentrate more on the performance than trying to sound like I weigh 1,000 pounds, which is very helpful. I did a number of voices in the game, and because I got very lucky that I was able to play around and do a number of the alien voices, and that was really just a relationship with Steve, the audio man extraordinaire, musician extraordinaire for the game, and he would let me kind of just have free reign, give him a whole bunch of options, and then he would go off of that. But with Groot, it was really important to just make sure that it always sounded fresh and in the moment, and that it wasn't getting in a habit of just doing line readings, because you can only get so far by putting emphasis on each word before you're like, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot. That's all we got. So I kind of stuck to more just trying to play off of what everybody else was giving and staying in the moment and just trying to keep an open heart with the character. And then it was always easier to find how I wanted to say it.
Awesome, man. All right, let's move on to Johnny Star-Lord. Johnny Star-Lord, the world, a lesser actor would say, oh, I guess I should kind of do a Chris Pratt kind of impression of some kind, but you didn't. I love the sound of your voice. I love the sound of Star-Lord's voice. It almost kind of reminded me of kind of a Corey Feldman meets Chris Jericho, like constant dude type guy. And I just want to know how you found Star-Lord's voice for yourself.
Thank you for saying Chris Jericho, because I used to be a massive wrestling fan back in the day for a very long time. But no, for me to, kind of, I don't want to repeat what's already been said, but what Jason was saying kind of plays true. Like I'm not playing a raccoon, and yes, you are a raccoon, Alex, or a tree,
hey,
or an alien. But it's it's looking at the character, it's looking at who he is, where he comes from, how he's trying to be in any given situation, and a lot of times Star-Lord he's trying to be overconfident while he's kind of stumbling his way through different situations. And, so, I tried to play the overconfidence and kind of like Alex said, it's like you kind of stray away from, at least with Star-Lord, you stray away, you stray away from putting too much on, and you kind of focus and go within and find the voice from there. And so what ended up happening for me was just kind of an extension of who I am, like an over exaggeration. Like it's kind of out there. He's playing the overconfidence in a way. And it's just, as Jason said, like you just kind of, you play with it, and you play with it over and over and over again until you find it. And luckily I found it. And as Alex said, you spend so many years with a character, it eventually just becomes second nature. It becomes an extension of yourself. So.
Amazing. And Kimberly, let's continue. I got to say, I love the sound of you yelling at me. Like it was very pleasant. No matter if Gamora was soft or aggressive, she was like, totally into the fight or giving Star-Lord crap. It was always pleasant to listen to, and that's an art of its own. Because
right.
So I'm assuming a lot of yelling happened. Please tell me about finding Gamora's voice.
Well, it was really important in the beginning, like, to not make her the mother of the group. She's, you know, she's the only woman in a group with a bunch of buddies, a bunch of dudes. So I really wanted to focus on having her, you know, hold her own space. She's sarcastic. She has sort of like a deadpan sense of humor. She speaks up her mind. She, you know, she's kind of, because of her background, is emotionally detached and has her guard up. And throughout the story, she slowly opens up and reveals sort of her secrets. And then she, you know, forms bonds with the guys. But I think it was really important to start in a place where she was really protective of herself, and then slowly but surely come around and start making jokes and allow herself to sing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the singing scene was actually really funny. I'm wondering, did they instruct you? You're like, please don't do this well. It's better for the character. Or did they say, let your karaoke voice fly? And they're too good.
I'm not a singer. And I was terrified. And they were like, no, Gamora ain't a singer either. Just lean into that. You don't need to sound good. So I had fun doing my worst singing ever.
Awesome. Hey, just in the comments, just a big shout out to Daryl Purdy, who I recorded an interview with tomorrow. And everybody watching this right now, if you want to know about the behind the scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy, I did an hour and a half with Daryl, just to basically about direction and the tones of the game. And just I'm just saying, is anybody here gamers yourselves? Like, do you realize the masterpiece that you're in right now, and how bad video games can be, and how good this one is?
Wait, where's
it's like a mirroring effect right here. I'm just like
the guy in the blue shirt.
It's purple.
What?
It looks gray.
You guys are colorblind.
It's obviously red.
Clearly.
I mean, I've played video games since I was a kid. I grew up with them. I grew up with like the original Nintendo Entertainment. The NES was my very first memory of gaming. Watching, I can remember standing over my father's shoulder watching him play the original Mario. And I grew up with Nintendo. I have most of the consoles. I still play today. I stream on Twitch. I do it all. It's my favorite pastime, and to be able to couple that with you know what I love to do, and my career has been a dream come true. Really
amazing. Okay, so everybody here, okay, we established like that's how you found your voices and stuff like that, and I'm sure you all have some favorite scenes, and we're gonna for the beginning of this, we've only been going for a little bit, so we're going to try not to give any total spoilers, but just to make it abundantly clear to everybody that not only you guys went in a booth, but also you were the mocap actors as well. I mean, this is a whole different level of acting. You didn't just show up and say, okay, sound cool. You were in this. You were just covered in green balls and just, you know, giving it all and delivering these emotional scenes while looking technically ridiculous. Like, tell me about a memory you have about recording your character and doing your darnest to make it as real as possible in a surreal environment.
Alex, you're like giggling. Go for it.
I'm thinking about Kim. I'm thinking about the one that you did.
I know. I knew you were thinking that.
I was also thinking of that.
We're all thinking about it.
Let's hear it. Let's go for it.
Well, this one time when we were shooting Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game, we like all the boys were there, and it's that scene where Gamora sees on I believe we're on Nowhere, that young girl being converted to the Promise, and she just goes like berserk and like runs. So we're all standing there, and then Kim just goes like, no, and runs, and she just like totally slips, falls on her face, like falls down. And then all the guys, instead of helping her, instead of going to see if she's okay, we all just like, and we go back into T-pose, which is what you do when you start and end the scene. But you know, Kim was laughing, and Kim, you guys did not flinch. You guys stayed into character, and then went into T-pose as like the final.
I keep seeing myself whenever I talk, and I'm just like, T-pose is like whenever we cut a scene, we have to go into T-pose. It's usually stand like a T. So the guys were like in characters until they did the T-pose, and I was just on the floor, and they didn't care.
They used that data, I believe, right, Kim?
Yes,
for someone falling.
I think is it Nikki that falls at one point, and they use it later. Daryl will know.
Yeah, Daryl will know. Daryl. where are you? There was a really fun thing that I did. I don't know if the group was there, but I don't know if you guys remember when you're playing the game and there's a battle of wits. You're talking with Raker, and behind Raker there's that drone. There's Gubbins the drone, and Rocket is trying to hack the drone. The way we shot that was they had this like big cube that's about my size, and Daryl and a few other people were holding that cube on an angle, so it's right on its corner, and I had to climb on top of it for real in the mocap suit with the helmet, reach inside as if I was hacking it. So a lot of that stuff that you see about Rocket hacking the drone is actually what we got on that day. But one of the things about mocap is you've got, or PCAP, performance capture as we call it, you've got this helmet with a very awkward camera that comes out here. So at one point I kind of slipped, I hit my head on the thing, the camera falls off and you fall on the ground and it's a big mess, but that's kind of funny, and that's where it goes. But that was a very cool thing to do. I'd never done something like that before.
The scenes where we had to like, anytime we had to like run or jump or like land on our feet a different, like 12 different ways, like those were the best days where you just got really physical. And I feel like for me, I'm not a voice actor. So the way I found my way into Gamora's world is physically. Like, how does she stand? How does she hold her sword? How does she relate like everyone else? I'm like the smallest of the group. So how do I mean, in real life, not Alex is the smallest. He's a raccoon. But yeah, so I think it's important to highlight that we were doing a full performance. It was physical. It was vocal. It wasn't just the voice. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been hired. Speaking
of hired, that I'm so glad you said that, because I was perusing through a lot of your IMDb's, and a lot of you, this is some of you, like some of you don't do a lot of video game work, and you would think, oh, these must be seasoned video game actors, but you know,
or seasoned film and TV actors. I mean, for me.
Okay.
Robert is a huge video game actor. He's got a huge resume for video games.
Well, yeah, of course, but some of you just do a lot of horror and Christmas movies, and I was delighted by the variety of your IMDb.
You're not doing yourself any favors, Ryan.
I'll see you later.
No, I love my wife and I love those movies. That's the thing. So we're like, oh, sick. This is gonna be a great weekend.
John and I are gonna cry ourselves to sleep today. Buddy, I'm gonna call you after this.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a little powwow.
This game is very special, and playing it was really special. But I also noticed that video games usually have a little bit of banter, but this game was almost a lot of banter with some video game in it. The script must have been as long as a phone book. How hard was it to film those scenes where, you know, one decision would be made that would affect all the dialogue versus another one? Did you film that in a row? Did you have to come back for it? Like, was that difficult? I'm wondering.
Who wants to explain this?
I think John explains it better.
John. I had a pretty intricate way of staying organized, I guess, if you will. You're right, Ryan. Like when you have a script, and in any given scene, you have branching dialogue that goes off in 3, 4, 5 different directions, and then does it again and again in the scene. You have to stay pretty on top of it. And the way we kind of shot it was we had what we called a golden path, if you will. So we kind of strung together the beginning of the scene in any given choice path and strung it all the way to the end of the scene. And that was our golden path. And then we kind of branched off to the different choices on different takes. But it was, for me, it was a lot of sticky notes, a lot of highlighting, color coding. And then, of course, memorization that you have to do regardless of video games, film, TV. But it's you just have to stay on top of it and stay organized.
You had to sort of remember where you stood and how you stood and where your energy level was for each, because every time you branch off, it comes back. So it needs to be able to be seamless that way. I remember the first time I read like the first script I got, I didn't know what I was reading because it's all like time codes, and they had to basically teach us how to read the scripts and find the golden path.
It's like end of A, go to D.
Yeah.
End of D, go to F.
Like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
difficult to know where your character was and how he was feeling at any given moment or any part. I had to rely on Daryl to basically tell me what I was feeling and what part of the story where I was, because it was not like a script I'd ever, been accustomed to.
Amazing.
It was easy for me because I'm always angry. So it was just always I was always, Daryl, how angry are we today? Is it an 8? Is it a 4?
Never a 1.
Speaking of angry, it's interesting how superhero teams, when you think of the Justice League, it's just like, here's a bunch of good timey heroes saving the day and having Thanksgiving and shaking hands. But the literal beginning of this game, besides just a 13-year-old Peter Quill hanging out in his room and talking with his mom, it's funny with Peter Quill. I was mentioning this to Mary. He's kind of the Bambi of this game. So it's like, oh, look at this wonderful mom. Oh, I know what's coming. The movies, comics, everything has told me that this is going to be bad. But at the same time, you can't help but live in the moment and just realize how sweet this is. And then you see Peter Quill wake up in the future, like literally being woken up by Drax telling him he doesn't trust Gamora. And it's just like, welcome to your space adventure of dysfunction. And I just kind of
we're a dysfunctional family for sure.
It's a great way to put it. I love it.
Yeah.
And the whole game seems just to be about orphans having a family that you find, and whether if it's
family.
Yeah, your chosen family, whether if it's a 13-year-old Star-Lord or a 13-year-old Nikki, like there's a lot of parallels with that.
They've all lost something, that's what brings them together. They've all lost someone.
Yeah, and speaking of lost someone's, like, maybe we'll wait a little bit later before we get into killer spoiler territory, because those scenes are just so freaking beautiful. But it's really amazing that every character in the Guardians of the Galaxy had this time to shine, essentially. And I'm sure you all appreciated that, because when you get cast in a video game and you're like, oh, but I'm not a playable character, does that mean I'm just going to be window dressing? Like, I'm sure there was a part in the script that made you say, damn, they're giving me stuff to do here. That's awesome. Can you tell me about a part without, giving too much detail?
For me, there's a scene later on where it's like where Gamora really, snaps, and without spoiling anything, she reveals her secrets, and she admits that she, like basically saying like, how could you be friends with a monster? I am a monster. And it's a beautiful scene. It was really hard. It's the kind of scene that I like to work with, because I love drama, and it was a really meaty, emotional scene. And it's really like the only time that you see her that vulnerable. And to have all the guys there supporting me through that, and Daryl, our director, just being like, keep going. My voice was breaking. He's like, keep going, use it, lean on that. It's working. And just, we did it so many times. I was like, breaking down, and to have like all of the actors, all my friends there supporting me, the actor, but also the Guardians supporting Gamora. There's just such a beautiful parallel there. Definitely one of my favorite scenes to do. Also the most challenging, but yeah.
Awesome. We're getting a comment right here saying the teardrops in her eyes in that scene. It is absolutely true. Anybody else? What's a scene that really stands out to you that's like made you say, "Damn, I love what I'm so glad I'm part of this game and I love what I do." Oh, so don't everybody go at once.
There are so many freaking scenes. I don't know. You know what? One scene I personally had such a good time doing. It was a scene that I acted with Jon and with Robert. It's at the beginning at the quarantine zone, and we discover something very scary, and Jon and I had to kind of like grapple and wrestle each other after this one object that's of particular value, and it was just a lot of fun to do that. And then we were in total sync that day. I think personally, though, you know, you were asking kind of like, do you feel like you're going to be, you know, window fodder or like something on the side when you're not a playable character? I just want to say that the minute we saw these scripts, like the minute you get to set and you see exactly how in depth they're going with everyone, that fear went away 100%. And, you know, it's such a great idea to have Star-Lord as the playable character, because you get to manage these people, these dysfunctional people.
And sometimes we would be like, we would get the scripts and it's like this thick every time we would go into the studio. And some of us were like, oh shit, Jon's fucked.
Yeah,
Jon has so much stuff. So glad I'm not Star-Lord.
Oh my God, yeah. And then, you know, what's interesting for Rocket is that, like, in the banters, Rocket has to translate everything Groot says. So that's one way to be very involved. I realized halfway through, I'm like, my God, I gotta say a lot, because everything Robert says, I have to freaking translate to everybody else. So
yeah,
it was something else.
The time limit. I don't know about you guys, but 2 weeks was roughly about the time that we had to, you know, learn and memorize everything.
Yeah,
I found it a little bit of pressure, especially for some of the more emotional scenes. It was like, oh, you got to deal with all the stuff, you know, learning every line. But then when you see a scene that you know is going to be pretty heavy, and you go, God, I've got to do it on that day. I got to really pull through. And then the pressure is just like, oh yeah,
a lot of pressure. But like, I mean, I always like to shout them out too. Like Daryl and Carol, our producer, they did a phenomenal job. And thank you guys. I know Daryl's in the chat. They did a phenomenal job of organizing our days, you know, in such a way that if there was something that was super heavy on the day, it might be at the very beginning of the day, or they might leave it till a little bit later. And they did a good job of spacing out anything that was, you know, super, super heavy and emotional for us. So that, you know, I got to shout them out, because it helps. It really does help a lot.
I specifically remember Daryl asking me on the day, which scene did I want to do first? And obviously I picked the one that I'd been agonizing over, so I could, you know, get it over with. And when he did that, that's when I went, okay, this guy gets it. He understands. And it was, a lot of great support. And I'm going to shout out you, buddy, Jon. I mean, when we had our scenes together, great partner, dude. Yep. Same here. Couldn't have done it without you. Couldn't have done it without any of you. You know, it was,
likewise.
Right back at you. Like,
it wouldn't have worked.
I hope the chat knows and people know, like, everyone in this game put 110% into the characters, their work. It was the greatest experience I've had to date. I mean, I had the fortunate position of being able to, like, being a part of probably 99.9% of all of these emotional scenes with Jason, Kim, Alex, even Groot. Groot's got some stuff in there too. Like, and Robert, you killed it. And, you know, Nikki, Carell, like everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody who showed up to set on any given day knocked it like out of the park. And to Jason's point, thank you guys. I mean, as an actor, that's all you can ever hope and wish for. And it's a dream to work with people that are all showing up to give 110%.
And every day on set, every time we were in the studio, there was this like overwhelming sense of like gratitude and excitement and just, we were having fun. And I think that's what people are getting out of this game. It's like, that fun was real. Like we, the actors, were enjoying ourselves.
Excellent. Yeah. Hey, Groot, you haven't made anybody cry yet, so let's hear your email. Let's hear your scene that made you say, "Damn, I'm glad I'm in this game." Because from what I understand, you didn't just have "I am Groot." They also, in the script, was written what Groot was actually supposed to be saying, even though you had to just say "I am Groot."
Yeah, I mean, it was super helpful. Mary and her team were phenomenal writers. Of all the games I've worked on, I've never encountered writing like this. Where you're really excited to read it. And I mean, for me, it was easier to memorize lines than everybody else. So to Kim's point of feeling like, poor John, he's going to go through a lot right now. I was always just happy to sit there and be able to watch and engage with these other guys. In terms of emotional stakes or emotional scenes, the ones that stood out for me, or like the emotional moment for Groot, because there isn't the same sort of Groot's arc is different than everybody else, because Groot's already kind of in a good place and has accepted a lot of things. And I tried to see myself a bit as like the heart of the team, to always feel for somebody what they were going through and to be something that they could lean on, literally and figuratively. And I have one scene that to me was the emotional scene for me, which is dealing with the promise. And it's a one-liner. And Daryl called Alex into the room so that I would have him as my eyeline in the scene. But it's, again, there's no monologue. It's just I am Groot. But it was I am Groot to explain everything that I had seen in the promise. And so that was a very emotional moment for me, describing everything that Groot has lost and then reliving that and then trying to tell somebody what that was like.
What I still think is amazing, Bob, is that in the first 5 minutes of the game, I heard you do more iterations of I am Groot than I think I'd ever heard in the entire run of what we've seen in the films. Different variations. I thought, like, oh my God, so many different meanings with one phrase.
I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's just a testament to what Rob did. Is like they wrote those lines in the script so that Rocket could know what I think a lot of the time what Groot was saying, because even if he's not translating, I think Rocket should know. But there were moments where Robert would say I am Groot, and I didn't even have to look. Like I would know what he meant, and it's because he's putting that kind of emphasis and inflection on it. There were more moments like that than I can count. And I told Robert this a million times. I've told it to this group a million times, but I think it's important to state because it just shows how much inflection and how much emotion is going under the I am Groots. So Rob, man,
thanks, bud.
No worries. Awesome. Buddy. So much love in this room right now.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
hey, Ryan.
Yes.
Can I answer a question?
Absolutely.
I don't think I can type on the side of whatever this is. Shannon, no, I didn't do any of the fight choreography. There was no time. It wasn't my job. Someone else did it. But it was a very talented guy that doubled me. And I have a question for Daryl. It's kind of weird, but I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to ask him because I don't know when I'll see him again. But this was during an emotional scene, Daryl, and I remember seeing an early version of it where not only did my voice crack, but my face cracked. And as I played the game and saw the scene, that moment, I remember in the raw footage when you showed us unrendered or unfinished footage, I saw that the computer had captured the face crack. But I wondered, because it's not in the game, it looks weird. And it goes to show, I think, sometimes when you actually do connect to real emotion, it can not always look right. So I wondered, was it a conscious decision on your part to remove it? Because if you did, great, because I also thought the same thing, that it didn't quite work. The voice crack is there, but the face crack is not. So just asking. If you get a chance to answer, thanks.
I tried to bait Daryl into coming into this, and he's like, no, let them have their moment. And I'm rethinking
here
this.
Like this thing is gonna get crazy.
Come on, Daryl.
I thought he should have come.
Daryl, get in here, man! Come on.
Yeah.
All right, I'll send him the link. Okay.
Jason brings up a really good point, though.
Dude, get Daryl in here. Where is he?
We were very fortunate to have a team of animators behind this that did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Especially the work on the facial capture.
Yeah.
With games, you only have so much time to be able to dedicate to cleanup So certain scenes that were of importance would have like a gold standard of facial cleanup, silver, bronze, and the gold. I mean, you can feel it when it cuts in on those cutscenes. When you're really feeling it, it's because they knew moments that they wanted to really bring out and hit home for the audience. And the animation team was phenomenal, and it was great having them sign in with us on the set when we were working, and having just everybody dedicated and excited to work and clean up the animation. You felt like people actually wanted to get a shot to work on it.
Yeah, like we would hear like some animators like dibs on that scene. I want to do that scene.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Daryl, by the way, check your email. I sent you a link to come join the party. As we wait for him, John, you and your performances are responsible for making both grown men and women cry ridiculously and chuckle at the same time. What is a scene that really stood out to you? Because you have a few.
Yeah, I have such a hard time with this question always, because as I said earlier, I got to experience it all with every single actor that came into the studio. Without spoiling, a couple that always hit home and I think are fan favorites, one of which is you can actually completely miss the scene altogether, is one with you, Jason. You probably know the one I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but you can completely miss the scene depending on how you play the game. That's one of my favorite scenes in the game. I mean, if we're talking emotional scenes, that one, there's a pretty heavy moment with Carell. There's certainly a heavy moment with Nikki. One that actually hit me when I was playing the game myself, and I was fighting tears streaming the game. There's a scene with Peter and his mother, and yeah, you're shaking, you're nodding, Ryan. I think you know the one I'm talking about. And
because for the first time ever, instead of just watching a cutscene and like letting whatever narration the game happened, I had to be present and had to push a button during it.
Yeah, yeah. You have to make a very, very specific choice. And you know, I was playing the game, I was on stream, and the scene was kicking into motion. I'm like, oh, okay, I know the scene. I shot it. I know it's coming. I know it's happening. And it just hit me, like everything, the whole game, but like everything was clicking, like the performances, the animation, again, to double what Jason was, or sorry, what Rob was saying, the animation, the music, everything was coming together. And I was fighting back tears on stream. It was insane. And that happened to me multiple times in the game. And I think that's a testament. And I think that deserves a shout out to everybody at Eidos, because, you know, to be a part of something, to be that close to something, and then have it play out in front of you and it still hits home that hard it's incredible. Like,
absolutely.
And speaking of shout outs, here's Daryl.
Oh my
God. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sorry.
How's it going?
Good. Yeah.
I'm so happy to see your face.
Yeah, I know. We just said we were going to do a chat or a Zoom at some point. So
well, here it is.
Look, I told Ryan I didn't want to come in because I'm like, no, I'm not going to come in and crowd them. It's like, it's their time. But so I will answer Jason's question.
Well, apparently we're 2 blocks away from being full Brady Bunch. So
that's true. Yeah. Who are the other 2 people?
Simon, get in here.
I see Katie there too.
So Jason, I will answer your question. When you're transferring real data from a real performance into CG, there are some subtleties that work really well. And there are some subtleties that while they might, like for me, let me back up. Kim mentioned earlier about when she was doing her really emotional scene and her voice was breaking. And I know, Kim, you were conscious of that on the day, and you kept worrying. It felt like, from my perspective, from the directing perspective, you were worried that you were ruining the take because your voice was going. And for me, I was thinking it was making the take better. And because I'm an asshole, I was like, just keep going. And I need your voice to break, because it added another imperfection to the scene that made it way more credible. Okay. So, and the same can be said when you have a truly emotional moment on camera, or when an emotion really triggers and your face contorts in a weird way. For me, I like those things because they make it feel that much more real. It's like when you stumble on a line. I think you guys would know that. If anything, if I would get angry on stuff or get annoyed, it would be like if you guys flubbed a line sometimes and you stopped. And I would say, no, just keep the take going, because I don't care if you fumble a line sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, you have to go back and you have to take it again. But sometimes those little inconsistencies add to a more genuine performance. So with that in mind, when you are doing facial capture and you get data and it goes in and then you see it on a CG character, not always, like, we try to represent your performance as accurately as possible with the animators and with Simon and his team. But sometimes a genuine thing that your face does, like Jason, what you were talking about, no matter how accurate you are representing it, it looks like a glitch in 3D. So you kind of have to have that aesthetic eye where you look at it and you go, I know that really happened, but it looks like an error when it's in CG. So it can look like an error in real time too, though. Yeah, well, you're probably the worst critic, though. Face.
But it's happened before, and I've looked at film.
I want to see this crack.
Like that happens, and it doesn't work. But I wonder if it was a conscious decision to remove it. That's all.
What I would say is I don't think it's necessarily. It's not like I went over every frame of animation, facial animation, or Johnny, our lead animator, or Simon and his team, and we went like, no, take that out, take that out. It's kind of an organic process where once the artists are really good at what they do, and they're really good at judging. Again, we're not trying to go one-to-one with your performance. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take the essence, the soul of what you guys are doing as yourselves, and we're trying to capture that essence and put it onto a digital character, which, has similarities to you, but does not look anything really like you. But like, John, you had mentioned the first time you saw footage, like the Carell scene when you licked your lips, when you went like that and we put it in, and you were like, oh my God, in that moment, you see yourself in that character, even though it's not maybe 100% accurate to exactly the way you did it. Your soul and your essence is there. And that's what we're trying to do. So once you're, when you have really talented artists, they're able to have a shorthand to know what's the gems, what's the keep, what am I kind of getting rid of? And there's sometimes when you take too much out and I might go, hey, you know what? We're missing something there. There was something that they did with their eyebrows. So if anything, I'm more on the other side. I kind of obsess about your facial performance or your body performance. And when I review after the fact, I'm more the other thing, saying like, hey, there was a really nice flare in their eyes there when they got angry that we're missing. Can you put it back in? Or it got taken out because of the compression or something. So it's more, I think, from a director standpoint, I'm more the person saying like, hey, you didn't get that part. Can you put it back in? Everything else is cool. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So is this the first time you all have seen each other, and how long exactly? Because, everyone's face lit up at the very idea of you showing up there, Daryl. So I'm assuming the band hasn't been together for a while.
Yeah, that's just good acting. We all really just hate each other.
We don't like
we actually wrote a blood pact saying like, we will never be in the same room or in the same city again. Yeah. At least if there's not a 10-kilometer distance.
So yeah, I write it into all my contracts now.
Yeah, that's
even film ones.
All right, everybody. Since Daryl, since you're here, everybody in the questions, and I know there's a lag, so you'll only respond to this in a couple of seconds. But if you have any questions for the Guardians of the Galaxy or the creative team behind it, please say in the comments and we will address it, because how often do I have an entire team of superhero crime fighting space misfits all on one stream? It's not very often. But
man.
I got to say, everybody, if what you find Daryl saying is fascinating, Daryl and I recorded an interview yesterday that was an hour and a half long, but really good about the game making process, and that will be uploaded to this page in just a few days after I add some bells and whistles, some graphics, and actually show what we're talking about. And for those of you who are like, hey, I played this game, I want to know what happens, it's okay to be spoiled. We'll give you spoiler warnings, but we will be spoiling things when it's not live.
Yeah,
we'll tell you about it. Yeah, but we'll tell you about it beforehand. There'll be a lot of stop signs and loud noises and whistles. Okay, I believe we have a question here. What was it like getting used to everyone on set?
Well, I think the hardest thing was people getting used to my farts.
I was going to say something about farting, but I'm glad you did.
Oh, Alex, you and me and my burps.
Your burps were great. I was impressed.
Oh, man. I only drink soda water, so it's very carbonated.
It's so true. It's like 1 o'clock came around and Kim was like, oh, Caro, where's my Perrier? 1 o'clock on the dot.
Amazing. Here's another great question. Since the game, have any of you took interest into the comics?
Dark Goo,
specifically the Guardians ones, or just in general?
Let's say the Guardians ones, even the more recent iterations by Bandit and stuff like that.
I had read a few after the movies because I wasn't that familiar with it. And then, of course, I read a few more once I got cast in the game. But I'm kind of a moderate comic fan anyway. So,
yeah.
I used to be a huge comic fan, like growing up. Like that was my thing. Buying comics, reading them, and drawing them. Sadly, I gave my comic book collection away to a friend's son I still am a moderate comic book browser now.
Did you have any really expensive ones? Like really choice?
Well, I don't know. Because I never really bought them to collect them, because I honestly used to just try to emulate the art that was like, I have my main ones, right? I grew up a Spider-Man kid. For some reason, I don't know why, but I was always drawn to Captain America as well as kind of my second. And then aside from that, I used to buy comics for the art more so than the story, because I loved drawing when I was a kid. So I would find artists that I loved and I would buy their editions of the comics so I could try to emulate their style. So
I did that too, Daryl, a lot with Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
a long time ago. I would sit down with different Star Wars novels, graphic novels, and I would just sit there and I would just stare, and I would basically redraw it myself for the longest time. For years, I did that.
I would draw because I didn't have a video camera or a movie camera. I kept begging my father for one. Finally, when I was 14, I got one. But before that, I would just draw all the action scenes I saw in my head.
Oh, awesome, man. So we got more questions. Wow. Okay. So everybody really jumped with that. Here's a really fun one. If you could voice another Marvel or video game character, who would it be?
Wow.
Groot, we haven't heard from you in a little while.
Oh, man. I mean, I grew up adoring the X-Men animated series, and I loved Gambit.
Okay.
And if I could nail that accent, which is a very difficult accent, which is not in my wheelhouse right now, that would be a really fun character for me to do.
You would be so good as Gambit, dude. I could see that.
You know what? When he was talking, I was thinking like, damn, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But,
Louisiana in there?
It is an accent that you could die on, I think, as an actor.
I have two stabs in my room right now. Like, my house has a bunch of weapons from all the fighting stuff that I do, but I have like 2 stabs in the corner of the room right now. I love throwing cards. Like, it would just be fun. I know you're asking about voice, but still, I would need to bring that with me to voice the character, obviously. Just a deck of cards.
Wow, man.
Awesome. All right, so John, any character, Marvel character or video game character?
Wolverine.
Yeah?
Wolverine, hands down. Same as Rob. I mean, I think we are the same age, around the same age. I grew up watching X-Men animated series. That was my life.
Are you all thrilled that X-Men 97 is continuing? Cal Dodd's a friend of mine, the voice of Wolverine, and he it's funny recording all these interviews with him when this was kind of like a maybe, and for it to actually have happened, it was almost kind of like sometimes you're just really glad that you spend all this time editing and going through live streams just with wishful thinking, and it's so lovely when the birthday cake effect actually happens sometimes, you know what I mean? But yeah, please continue about X-Men the animated series. Talk a lot about it, because apparently it's very effective on the internet. So please
okay. Mine would be Moon Knight for Marvel, and if I'm allowed to mention DC, it would be Orphan and Barbara Kane's dad.
Cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, of course you're allowed to mention DC. I mean, come on, Marvel, DC, Image, as long as the video game's good, right? Alex, who's a Marvel or video game character, DC character, Mad Magazine character, anything you want?
Yeah. No, honestly, like I'll just be honest about this. Like one of my favorite superheroes ever has been Spider-Man. Like ever since I'm a kid, and I would love to voice Spider-Man. Like it's a big dream, obviously, but it's something that's definitely on. It's definitely something I'd love to do.
Awesome. I could picture that. There's totally a looseness and hilarity to your voice. Like you could totally pull that off.
Thank you.
Like look, I love Tobey Maguire, but when I rewatch Spider-Man 1, I'm like, it's dad jokes and tights. Like he didn't have that looseness, but he was a great Peter Parker. And then Andrew Garfield nailed the Spider-Man part, but was way too attractive to be a convincing nerd.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know, man.
I thought you were a 16-year-old boy when we met.
Dude, that guy.
I was. Yeah.
That guy could have got my math teacher pregnant. Okay, like I don't know. Kimberly, what's a character that you would voice? Video game, Marvel, DC, you name it.
Okay, so too many of them, but I think I got to play Lady Vic in an episode of Titans last year.
Yeah,
and I would like to keep playing her or voicing her. I think she's a wicked character. She's evil. She's
awesome.
Mischievous. So yeah,
I love Titans.
And you killed me.
Oh, it's true.
Tell the story. That's amazing. Tell it right now.
Kim and I booked multiple roles together while filming Guardians.
I'll see you on set.
That episode, Lady Vic's reveal in Titans, I was in that episode only for one, because Kim put a knife in my back. It was great.
Wait a minute. You guys were allowed working on other stuff?
What? No?
No.
Ryan, if I may, quick shout out. What's up, Greg? My brother is actually in the chat right now.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Greg, get on here. Greg
Get Greg in here.
Send Greg a link. I want to see this brother.
Me and my brother have played many video games for many years together growing up. He asked, "What's it like to film a death animation?" It's one of the funnest parts. It really is. I love doing death scenes. It's a lot of fun. I don't know about you guys.
Well, clearly you get a lot of opportunities to do them because Kimberly's in the house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
Deadliest woman in the galaxy.
When I was a kid, my mom would tuck me in bed at night, and every night we would take turns and practice death scenes. Like I've wanted to be an actor since I was like I think 9. So every night I would just do like a very dramatic and then start twitching or whatever, and then she would cry over my dead body, and then we'd switch, and then I would cry. I like practicing crying so I could be really good at that. But I did it every night. It's very morbid, but it was she was
cool.
prepping me for my future career.
That's fun.
I cried every night when I went to sleep, but it's because I was a wuss.
I will say this because you guys were talking about death scenes, which is a bit of physicality. So I have to say to all of you, I both loved and dreaded your enthusiasm when we had to do anything that was a little bit physical. Because, well, I know, I mean, Ryan, I told you in our interview, I've known Jason since back in Far Cry 3 days when he was doing stunts with us and he was doing knife fights, whatever. So I knew he had physicality. But then also everybody else just really, really loved it. Kim was like, oh my God, like off
Daryl,
the
do you
wall
remember
when she
do you
would get
remember when we were doing like landings and
Yeah.
I wanted to land and do like the
3-point landing?
And you're like, no. I was like, please just let me do it once. And then I sold it. And you're like, fine, that was great.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I put in the chat because you guys were talking about scenes that were a lot of fun. And of course, I love the emotional and subtle stuff. You guys know this is what I like love. But one of my favorite days of shooting, and I was looking through some footage not too long ago, was the day we had to shoot the scene where you guys are getting sucked out of the airlock.
Yes,
Oh my
I was
God,
thinking
yes.
that earlier too. So good.
And
Oh, that was great.
so just so people know, one of the things, and you know, I love our mocap volume at Eidos, but it's a modest mocap volume. It's fairly small, and you know, and we have a fairly kind of like small crew. But on this day, we kind of had to be a bit MacGyvers trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? Because they're hanging off of this like arm, and a vacuum or a door is opened, and
Everything's sucked out.
everything's getting sucked out into space. So they're hanging there, and we didn't have wires or anything like that. So we went to the IT department and we got a trolley like that they carry computer parts on, and we put like a little crash mat on it, and we had them lay on it. And as they're hanging onto scaffolding, I was there underneath just rolling it around and throwing it. And I went back and I looked at that footage and I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. And it turned out like the end result, I was like, wow, that actually sold it pretty well. And I remember everybody was having a lot of fun that day.
Oh
because,
my God, yeah.
Like, one more time.
Yeah.
And you
And
know,
also,
when
like, this
Daryl
scream-
is like moving stuff, he's also directing. That's the thing. So he's like moving stuff, and he's like, "Okay, scream! No,
You're like,
a little bit less of that. No, too frantic." And he's like, "It's like he's really in it."
Do you remember when we were shooting the there's a scene early in the game, this isn't really a spoiler, but something happens to Nikki and she's thrown over the ledge and she lands on a ship down below, and Star-Lord jumps after her, and he crash lands on top of the ship, and he's holding on to it, and we built a scaffolding up to hang off of. And I remember not feeling good about the scene, and I was like, Daryl, one more time. And he's like, okay, fine, we got it, but do it one more time. And on that last time, I don't know if I ever told you this, Daryl, but like I grabbed it and I really just dropped and just really slammed into that scaffolding, and I was bruised.
Call Actra.
Hey, John, if I remember correctly, I was the one cautioning, like, John, you don't have to go that heavy. Like, you were like, no, I'm going to get it. And so I didn't know you were injured, but I was like, I was really concerned. I'm like, okay, we're going too far. We're now literally doing stunts, and we should have a coordinator and a medic here and you're like, no, one more. It's okay.
But you guys know, like, as an actor, when you feel like you haven't gotten it, you're like, no, I got it.
Yeah.
No, let me go one more time, because I need to nail this before we move on.
I don't care if I lose all my limbs and I hurt myself. I will nail this scene.
It was like, just so I can sleep tonight. Can I just do it one more time?
Yo, John, you showed me that bruise, man. I remember that bruise. It was like, I remember.
It was a good one. It was decent.
I'm glad I didn't know. I'm glad Carolina didn't know about that.
Yes. And she'll never know about it.
Yeah.
No one will ever see this. So Greg is asking a great question. I think this is really relevant. What was it like filming death animation for when an enemy kills you or you fall off a ledge, and how many times did you have to film? Was it a day of yelling? Can you speak to those grindy days? And so we know about the scaffolding, but I'm sure there's many other scenes of death, including Rocket when you were drowning and it scarred me because I can't play video games, and it took me off guard where I had to save you, but I'm terrible, so I had to watch you die a good 4 times before I actually rescued you. And it traumatized me like the never-ending story watching your horse die. And that's pretty early in the game, so it's not really a spoiler. Anyway.
Well, I don't know about death animations in terms of PCAP. I don't know if we were doing that much of that. At least I can't remember. But in terms of voice acting, you have these things called banters, which is non-cinematic conversations. And then when you're in combat, you have something called barks. That's what we call them. And barks are basically like, you know, get the gun, shoot that guy. And then you would do a variety of barks for death or for injury. So an injury might be, oh, and then a death would be anything from a scream to a death rattle, as they call it. Eidos did an amazing job by having so much variety in this game that we had to actually record a huge variety of death screams for every single level and potentially numerous combat sequences within each chapter. So there were days where we were doing a whole lot of screaming like that. And that's what you see in the game. You see such a great variety of those screams and conversations in combat, but that definitely took a lot of work. So Greg, when you're talking about grindy days, and I mean, I think the rest of the Guardians can speak to this too, is those were the grindy days of yelling a lot. And it's just part of the job. That's what you got to do, you know.
There were days when we called Rocket the what was it? You were like the doctor
foreman.
or the foreman because he had so many barks sometimes that he literally just Caroline, our wonderful producer, would be like constantly feeding him like lemon tea, like tea and stuff, and honey to keep his voice going. But like when we weren't rolling, he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, what are you doing?" And you were just like, "Man, your voice is like."
Did you clock it? Did you sign the sheet?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You got to talk to Peter about that.
Yeah, there's a guy down on the dock there. You got to go see him. You were like, God, you're like Alex, man.
and those barks were usually kept towards the end of the day or at the end of the week after we had done all the other scenes because it really
takes a toll.
You know, someone who I don't think doesn't get enough credit is Simon Peacock, who was also the voice director for a lot of these sequences. And
Simon is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Hands down. Yeah,
he was amazing to have around because he had a lot of tips for. At least I learned a lot about voice acting just by working with him in terms of how to preserve the voice like that, and it's a skill. And you know, so yeah.
Actually, I wanted to always ask you guys this, so I'll ask you in public.
Great.
No.
Who was a better director?
No, what I was thinking is because Simon and I have crossed paths many times or whatever. Actually, the first professional actor I ever directed was Simon, and it was in a workshop. Okay. And this was way back. But anyways, I was watching some of the banter things that with Simon directing. And I mean, I think if you guys, I hope you would agree that Kim, you alluded to it before, that most days when we were shooting PCAP, we tried to keep the room fun and light. And, you know, like I'm not one that is very serious a lot of the time. So I tend to crack jokes between takes and, you know, but I was watching some of the recordings with Simon, and from my point of view, I felt like Simon was the perfect fit because he is also that personality where he just knows organically when to lighten the mood and crack a joke. And, you know, like, because a lot of times you can be pressured like, oh, the clock is ticking and money's burning and we should get all these lines. But you have to balance that with, you still want to have fun, right? I think that was one of the key things that got us this kind of genuine performance, was that we all had fun doing it.
Well, it's the fun that got us through the long days and the thick.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, did you feel that from Simon? Because for me watching 100%. It, I was like, he was a perfect fit for that role to direct because he just is that lovable personality.
There wasn't a single day where I didn't look forward to going into work.
Yeah.
Not a single day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was a little apprehensive at first because I didn't know Simon and we had spent years working with you, Daryl. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like we're coming back to work and Daryl's not there. Like I leaned on you heavily to get through scenes.
Well, that's why he was there. I was like, man, I can't take Kim anymore. She's just
you know what?
And the truth comes out.
Simon was like right away. I was like, oh, okay, he's one of us.
Yeah. Simon's such a good actor that he was on a kids, a made for tweens show in the 90s called Radioactive, and he had this he had this
Yes,
he had this
wasn't he?
role.
He was the
He had this
principal.
role where he was this army guy, and you know, he's a disciplinarian, and they're talking about his former jobs. He's like, yeah, they fired me, and I was like, and my wife was one of the stars of that show, and I had met Simon 3 times. And never made the connection it was the same guy. And then eventually, when I made the thing, I just had to write him up. And I'm like, dude, you are such a good actor. I had no idea that was you. None whatsoever.
I can't believe he was on Radioactive. I used to watch
God,
that like
amazing.
all the time.
I love that. I thought, I need to go back and rewatch everything.
No, Melissa, who played Morgan, is like literally in the kitchen right now, like graciously not using the internet so the stream works better. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Everybody out there, if you love 90s YTV stuff, I have an entire show called You, Me, and YTV where I interview all the stars from those shows, PJ
cool.
Fresh Phil, all those personalities that don't nearly get enough credit based on what I consider the golden age of Canadian
100%
entertainment.
Please tell your wife that there's some Radioactive fans here.
Oh yeah,
sweetie,
Yeah.
Gamora digs you.
Holy crap, she's so good.
Get her in here.
get her on the stream. Let's go.
We're bringing everybody in here.
Everybody until we're full Brady. And not Wayne Brady, full Brady. Okay, so we got a lot of really cool questions here. Someone brought up something about music, and it was such a great question. If you were all to pick, like, first of all, love the huddles. Love it when everybody, like, the battle's going good or bad, and then Star-Lord says his inspirational Ted Lasso, but on the douchebag side, speech to rattle everybody up, and then you hear an awesome 80s song, and the battle is even better. What is each of your choice song? What is your battle cry? What is your anthem? What do you go into battle and hype yourselves up with? Because I gotta say, Kickstart My Heart all the way.
Yes, that's mine. Kickstart My Heart, for sure.
I love
Don't worry, be
happy.
happy. The Don't Worry, Be Happy one took me a little back because I couldn't move properly, but it's because that's what you do in that song. That song, apparently. But anyway, please, Jason, what's your battle cry?
Off the top of my head, I got hyped when I heard White Wedding, and then anything by Pat Benatar.
Awesome.
But
Okay.
wait, I gotta shout out to Steve and the original music because there's some tracks on there that I just really love. I mean, they're actually part of my workout tape in the morning now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love the Star-Lord band. Alex, your battle anthem, what is it?
I really like A Bit of Good, A Bit of Bad. It's a song that really stuck with me. Yeah.
Love it. Robert, your battle cry.
Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero.
Me too. Shrek 2 all the way. Love it.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I you feel it when you run into battle, and it's good. It's good times.
Excellent. John.
I've always loved the Final Countdown. It's so good.
Nice.
Classic.
And Kimberly, I believe we established that we need to get kickstarted in the heart. Excellent. Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot of cool questions. I'm just going to make sure that I get to all of them because so many people have joined and so many people love this game. I got to say, just as I'm looking through the questions, generally, and I'm a fan of things, but we can be dicks sometimes and judgmental. And frankly, when you hear a Guardians of the Galaxy game coming out, some people's natural reaction would be like, "Oh, is it the is it the movie? Is it not the movie?" Fans tend to sometimes judge things before they experience them. But for what I'm seeing, the positive reaction that this game, its direction, its writing, its acting has been getting from people is astounding. Like just today, I believe comicbook.com had named that this was one of their top games of the year. All of you are receiving all these accolades. Did you predict that people would respond to this game this well?
No,
it's something you can't predict. You just. Oh, sorry, Rob. You were gonna say something.
No, bro. I was just gonna say that it's always hard to know because a game is so different. It's like even in film, you might film a really good scene when you're on set, but then when it's edited together, the product at the end might be completely different than what you experienced on set. So we knew we had something magical on set, and we trusted the people that were all in the team to bring that product out. But at a certain point, you're like, a lot of this can come down to the programmers and the game design itself. If the combat system doesn't go, then you can have fans that don't care as much about story that'll tank a game based on that. So to see it all come together and work cohesively, that's what was beautiful. And not to say surprising, more to just say it was a huge relief, because then everything that we experienced and felt on set could actually be felt by people playing the game.
I felt a sense of peace when I was on set. I didn't really think too much about how it was going to be received, because for me, I felt like I like won the lottery. It was like by far the best acting experience of my life. So regardless of how it was received, I was just like, this is one for the books, like hands down.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Here's an interesting one, and I'm wondering who could answer this. Whose decision was it to bring Flark from the comics? I got to say, sometimes when the music was a little loud, I was thinking that a lot of F-bombs were getting in there, but it was cleverly Flarking, you know? And it would be such a shame to not have that kind of attitude that, you know, comes with casual swearing. And it's kind of nice to see that you got away with it. In fact, I wish I knew what flarking was in grade 6. It would have been awesome.
It was probably that's credit to Mary's team. And actually, one of the writers, Ethan, took it to an all new height. There's a moment when, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's fairly early in the game, where you get a choice where you can throw Rocket across a chasm. Okay. And if you do, Rocket is not happy, and he lets out this string of swearing. And Ethan, the person who wrote it, when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I don't even know how he came up with this. And then when Alex performed it on the day, and he's kicking his feet and he's whatever, and I was like, this is gold. I mean, this is, and from then on, it was like, Ethan, what else? What else can you come up with? Because Rocket has the best swears, hands down, of anything I've ever watched.
I mean, let's be honest, that there's only one choice in that scene. I'm sorry, Alex. But...
I mean, I did it. I did it when I played it.
Okay, this is a really cool question, and I was looking for this one because we got, you know, so many. I said someone asked a question, and then someone wrote 300 things. So, if you could spend a day or two with any of the Guardians, who would it be with?
Groot.
Oh,
I would spend it with Groot.
Yeah.
Groot. I mean, it's just so wise and so kind, and I don't know. I'd be like, make me a bridge. I want to go there. Tell me the world.
Yeah, I got to say, I think I would love to send, no offense to you guys, but Gamora, Star-Lord, and Rocket out to get groceries or something. And I'd like to sit down and have a beer with Drax and Groot and just see where that conversation goes.
That's good, because I was going to say I would spend it with Rocket, because even though we are at each other's throats sometimes, I feel like he'd be a good drinking buddy.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Gamora would drink you guys.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's true.
But it would be fun getting there.
Yeah. I would hang out with Drax. I mean, I always say this, but Jason cracked me up all the time. I love what he did with Drax. And I would just love to hang out with Drax and just ask him questions and just see where they go.
Yeah, well, you did that.
I was going to say, just so everybody knows, Jason was the best when he cracked on set.
Oh, yeah.
It made the shoot.
Contagious laugh.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Jason.
I was trying to get
that stone that Moses hits to get water. It's like he's a stone for a minute, and then the minute he cracks, it's just like, and it's just
the only way you can describe it. It's like a guffa or like a belly laugh. I don't even know. It's like it comes from
so
like
guttural.
Deep.
It literally comes from so deep.
Yeah.
I have watched the blooper reel so many times just to hear your laugh, Jason.
Oh, so
you have it?
What?
Oh, you mean the one that that they posted?
Shout out to Simon again for putting together blooper
I was
reels
trying to get
all the
Simon
time.
in here actually, but the problem is the browser is not working and stuff like that. So an attempt was made. So if you ever see me looking down, it's because I'm mischievously like trying to do things behind the scenes.
Can I shout out Simon and Caitlin Stavely, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
I want to say thanks to Caitlin because she personally worked on a lot of my animations, and thank you. Did an amazing job, and you should talk about your work more. Do it. Get out there.
And Simon, while we were being silly, would log all of our bloopers, and then every session we had, we'd like, every month we would come in for a week or two, and he's like, "Oh, I made this for you guys," and we'd watch this insane blooper reel. And some stuff didn't make the cut.
So
it was not PC, but it was great to be like.
Thank you.
He didn't have to do that. He took time out of his own day to like put that together. And Simon, it was one of the highlights of my week every time. I'd say for.
What was crazy though is, unlike other games, to have Simon and Caitlin actually on set with us was a very different experience. Like, they were around. They were often helping suit us up for the day. There to answer questions. Like, they were just passionate to be there. A lot of the time when I go and I work at other places, you might meet the animators here and there, but you're mainly working with the animation director, and you'll have animators pop in here and there, but it wasn't the same as this experience, which was like everybody was just a fan to be there on set working towards the project.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Simon just mentioned that it's Caitlin's birthday today, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday.
So, guys, I will say my goodbye now.
Goodbye, Daryl.
I'm going to leave. It was lovely to see you all, and we still will have to do our Zoom at some point.
Yeah.
I think I'm good now.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for stopping by, Daryl. We really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for answering my question. I was curious.
Look, thank you guys for being so gracious to let me come in here. So, Ryan, thank you. It's a wonderful show. So,
well, I had to talk them into it. I got to tell you, no, not all. Yeah. They were like, "Why isn't he here?" So,
I've already sent my check to all your agents just to make sure that you're paid for letting me come in here. So, all right, guys, thanks.
Bye, Daryl.
Bye, Daryl. Bye. All right, so we got some really great questions, and I'm really happy that they're being asked. Do you have any younger or older relatives play the game and tell you, "Look, that's you," as if basically everybody, we're reaching that age where we all have either younger brothers or they have kids, and my friends' kids are really big fans of this game. I'm sure it's kind of interesting that you're finally being those characters. Like, John, you were mentioning before, you love the 90s X-Men. Like, God, imagine if one of your family members was in the 90s X-Men. How would that feel if it was after you loved it, you're like, yeah, but that's Uncle John. What? It can happen. Has that happened to any of you with younger relatives or older relatives?
I don't have anyone. The relatives that I have are too young to be playing video games just yet. I do have a distant cousin that I actually went out and I was speaking with his mother, and I went out and bought the game for it and signed it and surprised him on Christmas with, which was pretty cool. And they sent me a video back of his reaction. But again, my brother, who is in the chat, he's played and beat the game, so that was kind of a neat experience for us. I also wanted to shout out Lindsay as well. My sister's in the chat. Thank you, guys.
The whole family.
Love you.
I just want to shout out John's brother, Greg. You cracked me up about 20 minutes ago with one of the things you said about driving the character off a cliff. That was awesome.
Well, I killed John many times, but it was not intentional. It was just out of a lack of skill.
He's been trying to do that in real life for years.
He just sends you a stream of him killing you for 9 hours in a row.
Just on loop.
He does my duty, he says.
Okay, here's a good one. Were there any distinct off-script improv scenes or lines that actually made it into the game?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
John's got a good one.
John's got a really good one.
There is actually a scene in the original. Is it? I wish Daryl was still here. I think it's called the reveal trailer, the first trailer that dropped for the game. And it's at the very end, and it's Star-Lord pulling away from a tentacle, and he's like, no, I'll call you. And that was completely 100% ad-libbed on the day. And I remember we all burst out laughing when I did it. And to my surprise, we got a sneak peek at the trailer before it dropped, and there it was. I was like, what?
That's awesome,
it's
man.
Perfect, though. It's a perfect moment. It's totally Star-Lord. It just tells you exactly what you need to know about him. Yeah. Mine was I had an ad lib I wanted to kind of reference a moment from the films where Drax calls Gamora kind of a not very pleasant name, but he does it just as like everything he does, just as a matter of fact and not as an insult. So I had to find something kind of family friendly, and I decided to call her a harlot spawn of Thanos, and they kept it. They used it.
You were really good, Jason. I felt like you were so in touch with like Drax's voice that, you know, sometimes in the script where you're like, I don't think Drax would say it that way. And you knew, I thought you were really good with picking up on little nuances, little details on, like instead of can't, it would be cannot, you know, little things that.
Just some stuff just doesn't sound right. Like I decided early on, he doesn't use contractions. Everything is direct and literal. And my way of thinking was that if Drax comes from a warrior society, they, to avoid getting into unnecessary conflicts, have to be very clear about what they're talking about and communicating so that they don't, you know, piss each other off unnecessarily and kill everyone. So that's where that came from. Just being very direct and clear with your communication.
But otherwise, I mean, I didn't really improvise. The script was so strong. And, you know, it was all there on paper.
You know, a big shout out. I interviewed Mary and Casper yesterday. That's going to be an interview coming out on this channel. And it's truly amazing how much care went into this. And kind of like, I don't think anybody distinctly was saying to themselves, hey, let's just write a video game. They're like, let's write a great story and let's write great characters.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing that technology has come so far where that kind of effort can be appreciated, because as much as I love the Mario Brothers, I'm pretty sure the script of that game must have been a paragraph where, you know, questionable plumber jumps on turtles and falls off cliffs.
Questionable plumber. Love it.
That's funny.
If he's a plumber.
The script was very extensive.
Yeah. All right. We got so many cool questions. Let's get to them. Here's one. I love motion capture. Just would like to know, how are the suits? Are they heavy and hot?
Oh, they're hot.
What's up, Keaton? How you doing, man?
Hot.
They're hot.
They're hot.
They're tight.
The sweat does not circulate.
Yeah.
I long for the day when we can just wear normal clothes and just have a few markers or something. But no, it's hot.
We're all equals in those suits. We all equally feel uncomfortable. But I don't know about you guys, but once I was in the suit, I was dancing. I was like flossing. I couldn't help myself. I was in a boy band.
Yeah, well, you look great in yours, so that helps.
Thank you.
But, you know,
you did look good, Kim. Kim was doing Gangnam Style every morning, man. We would walk in and it was just Gangnam Style Kim. Like
Kim would lead the mocap dance in the beginning to warm us up. That was the best thing.
What's always amazing, no matter how long somebody works on a game, any time that you see your own motion data on the screen when it's tracking you, that's one of the reasons that I feel like Kim would dance as well. As you see yourself on screen, you're like, the dots are me. I'm the dots.
I know.
The dots.
And it never gets old.
No.
It never gets. It's like you want to see a little stick man do the floss and like weird, like it never gets old. I love it.
And they would color code our dots as well, like so we know who we all were as well.
I was like shotgun pink.
I always got brown.
Okay, this is another great one. Was there an on-set prop for the llama?
Oh my God! Well, I watched the scene where I'm dragging the llama. What's that?
It was a couch cushion.
There was a couch cushion.
Oh yeah.
But Johnny, one of the lead animators, Giovanni, that Daryl mentioned, there was a scene where Rocket pulls Cammy out of the control room when Cammy chewed up the wires, and that was Johnny because I needed to pull something. So Johnny stood in for actually a lot of things, but that was one day where Johnny was the llama, and I had to basically pull him out and then scream at him, and then Rob came in and carried him away.
Didn't Johnny also play Drax when Mantis was piggybacking?
I think it was Johnny or Daryl.
Yeah. It was one of them.
Well, it was Johnny because I didn't see Daryl do it. But
was it a Geiger?
Oh, it was Geiger.
Yeah, it could have been Geiger. Yeah,
awesome.
One of the facial animators.
I just want to say that I was the original voice for Cammy, the llama, but I was a recast, and I was really upset about that.
Yeah, not something you want to advertise.
Say who the real voice is?
Because this was my read of Cammy when we were doing the original. I was like, bah! And so I got recast.
This guy right here.
Yeah,
that's Cammy.
Cammy?
Bob is Cammy.
When he's not a llama, he's a tree. There's Bob.
Yeah.
There's a lot of roots to your Groot, man.
You're
I gotta
a
say.
treasure.
Yeah. It goes in many branches. It grows in many branches. I gotta ask, I mean, there's this really cool scene where you're in the Nova Corps and you go on a computer and it gives you the option to read up on all these criminal files on all these characters that aren't even necessarily in the game, but it's so interesting. Some of them pop up, some of them don't. What is your favorite character that is not in the Core Guardians group? Because you have like Hellbender, you have Mantis, so much wonderful characters. What's a character that you really liked how they came out?
Mantis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Every time Emmanuel was in the studio and it's I was like, wow, like this voice that she's doing and the way she's looking at us, like she was so good. And I was like, I want to do that. It just came so naturally to her. It was amazing to watch her work.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Nikki as well. I thought that she did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lipless is my favorite, I'd say. I love Lipless.
Yeah.
Lipless
And
is
it's
amazing.
Cosmo too. And that was both Alex, who did a good job as well.
The whole supporting cast was incredible.
Everyone. Yeah.
And we were always so excited to have them because it was just the five of us, and then all of a sudden there's like a new person. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Did they have to prove their worth or go egg the principal's house or something? No kind of hazing.
No, I mean with Alex farting and me burping, we set the tone.
They could tell they're in the Guardians of the Galaxy as soon as they walked in a room. Apparently, okay, cool.
The only person who went through any hazing was Daryl. These guys would steal his blueberry scone every morning before work. Or take a bite out of it and put it back in the box.
We would do so much stuff.
We're getting a whole bunch of comments about Lipless and Mantis and about people responding to them. I thought Lady Hellbender was really cool. And Jason, I got to say, it was kind of funny because clearly Drax has kind of a warrior's crush on her. But But well, I don't want to say what happens later, but just it was kind of interesting to me that he clearly, just by reputation, without even having met her yet, that essentially it was kind of like warrior Tinder, that he found out that about her stats. He was much more attracted to her stats and the idea that she was just gigantic killing machine. Can you tell me a little bit about playing that? Because at this point, I'm sure you don't really know what Lady Hellbender looks like as you're acting. Who are you picturing? Was your giant warrior Amazon killing machine?
I guess in my head, I might have been picturing someone that was like a larger version of Valeria from the original Conan movie.
Cool.
A bit more muscular. So she wasn't that far off because Simon told me that she was going to be much larger in stature. But in Drax's mind, she's even bigger. So he's kind of, I guess, disappointed when he meets her. The thing I was confused about, I think, was that there is no on his part, there's no romantic attraction, at least. So he has to kind of fake it when he tries to. Oh, I can't talk about this stuff, can I? I can't say any of this.
Well, you can kind of. I'm pretty sure everybody who's willing to watch us for an hour and a half has played this game by now.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, he doesn't have any romantic attraction for her. He sees her as an equal and admires her for her skill. And then having to sort of fake flirt with her was kind of a challenge. So, yeah.
Awesome.
And, I think it's worth noting that. Oh, sorry, Kim, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's worth noting that, Sarah Levesque, who plays Lady Hellbender, was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
In real life, she is only, what, 5 foot?
5'1", 2".
Yeah.
She's
but she has this essence.
Oh,
oh my God.
And
big
voice.
Shakespearean Xena-like voice. I really
I
like
can vouch for her. She'll spinning hook kick you into oblivion if you give her a chance.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I love it. Okay. Here's a good question, and feel free not to answer it if you can't. But in theory, if there was a second game, what kind of character arc would you want to see next? And if you wish to plead the fifth, I respect that, because we're in video game mode, and yeah.
I think a gardening simulator would be very good.
Let's leave it at that. I love that. That's the great.
I love it.
There you go.
I always have this idea that like Rocket and Groot would go on a play together. There's Groot Fit. Remember we were talking about Groot Fit?
You did talk about doing a play where it would just be the I am Groot line for the entire play. Yeah.
I knew him once, Horatio. It's like Groot. Groot. That's not your line. But
I would like to see. I would like to see a recreation of the Lethal Weapon 3 poster with Star-Lord on one side, Groot on the other, and Rocket being the Joe Pesci just up there, but fingers blazing, all that stuff. That would be great. Okay, this is a really cool one. My buddy Mike here, he said, thanks, Ryan and everyone, for putting this together. The kiddos are stoked to get to know the backstories and the making of this immense game. Aww. Now, I just want to specify something that, Mike's kiddos are named Rocco and Chanel. And I was wondering if you could give them a shout out in a familiar tone, if you get my drift.
Oof.
Ooh. Who wants to go first?
Rocco, Chanel, stay in school. Don't be like me.
Rocco, Chanel, if you leave that fridge door open one more time.
Rocco, Chanel, run!
Rocco and Chanel, please listen to your father and go to bed early if he says to do so. If he does not, you may disobey him. I do not care either way.
I am Groot.
That's absolutely beautiful. You guys are going to have to do that for the rest of your lives. I'm just letting you know that right now. That's when a character lands. But here's a question. I find I see a lot of you and me in a sense where you clearly love what you do. And of course, there's something out there that you're a huge fan of. And if you met said person that you're a fan of and they were totally great about doing it, sometimes you meet people who are just like, I don't want to say the thing that you know me for, because at that point they're just over it. But at the same time, I feel that all of you have been waiting for this, and working for this, and now are happy. If a little kid came up to you and said, Alex, please do the Rocket voice, I'm sure you wouldn't put I'm sure you wouldn't put a cigarette out in their ice cream cone. You know what I mean?
But it's also, we worked on this project for some of us. Some of us have worked on this project for 4 years, so I think it was when we couldn't, we signed an NDA, so we couldn't talk about it. So I think we're just excited to finally be allowed to share our experiences and our excitement and our love for this game. So I think we're just happy. We're just happy to be here.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
All right, cool. So we're going to be winding things down, ladies and gentlemen, because these wonderful actors have given us so much time. So this is a really good time to get in those last questions, because I'm definitely so curious. I want to know, thinking about it right now, you guys were just mentioning 4 years ago. Now, 4 years ago, the world was distinctly a very different place. I like to call it BC, before COVID. The very nature of you guys hanging out and being able to have this loose atmosphere, working together all in the same room, probably would have come under some kind of scrutiny or extra effort in order to replicate that experience had it been recorded all recently. Was it a blessing to have worked on this game that long ago?
God, that's such a good question. Look, we started before COVID, and just like everybody else in this country and the world, COVID was a huge curveball right in the middle of production. What I want to say is I think Eidos deserves massive kudos for continuing to do it safely. And because, as we've established in this interview and countless times before, one of the most important parts of this game is the chemistry between the characters. I don't believe it would have been possible if we wouldn't have been on set together. We kept going and we were able to do it, but we did it safely the entire time. And yeah, we had to change things up, but we were able to keep going and we delivered. So,
and in a world where there's just so much hardship with COVID and families being torn apart and people passing away, and for us to be working on a game with so much humor and levity, it was a real blessing. And to be able to launch it during COVID still, and for people to have something to look forward to and to play and to have a sense of family and belonging is it's really beautiful that the timing of it worked out.
Excellent.
I think the world needs this game.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. I can absolutely tell you New Year's was an odd time, not health-wise, was very healthy and happy about that, but it doesn't take getting a sickness to be affected by a sickness. Just, the way you can feel the way of the world if you have any empathy whatsoever. So to not have the feeling of New Year's and celebration and all that, and to experience this game, it did what it had to do. It's kind of like, it was a beautiful 3 days. I swear to God. I watched Cobra Kai, I played Guardians of the Galaxy, and I watched Ted Lasso. It was an amazing 3 days.
Amazing.
I got tired of being happy at one point. It was like, wow. So, here's the entertainment, folks. Thanks very much. We're going to do the last question of the night because I think it's a great one. And it's kind of reflecting, here you are, not the end of your journey. I mean, but just reflecting on an adventure well done. Here's a great question, and I'm glad that this was asked about the beginning of your journey, and this is a great way to go off on. Stepping into an iconic character can be intimidating and a humbling experience. How did you feel on the day that you got the call that you were going to be part of this experience?
I actually, may I go first?
Go ahead.
So I was brought in a little later, and I got an email saying like, they want to bring you in for a chemistry test for this game, Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's for a different part. So I was like, oh, okay, sure. Like I didn't get Gamora, but I'm happy to play any part. And then they sent me the scenes that I was going to work on. And it was Gamora, and I could not believe it. I mean, I felt like I won the lottery, and I felt like that throughout the whole experience. I feel like, pinch me, wake me up. This can't be happening, because I was such a fan of the movies and such a Marvel fan, to be able to play such an iconic character. And I love the world, and I love the humor, and also like I knew I was going to be working with Alex. We go way back from Montreal, our days in Montreal. So I was like, oh my God, I already have a friend, and if Alex is playing Rocket, we're golden. We're golden.
Awesome. And Alex, When did you realize you're going to be the trash panda?
Well, I was in a dumpster. I was looking for bologna sandwiches, and I got the call. And well, I got the call. I got the call from my agent, and I did kind of like what the stereotypical actor would do. I screamed in the street. I just like jumped up because it was a huge thing, and people didn't know what I was doing. People thought I was crazy, but I was just so happy. And acting's hard. Like being an artist is hard. You spend years working your craft. You get rejected a lot. And then, when you get something this big, it really feels like a confirmation of the amount of work you put in. And it makes it feel like you're on the right path and that what you're doing as an artist has value. Somebody says, look, you're ready. Here you go. Take the keys and drive that car for a bit. So that's how I felt when I got it. Just very, very happy.
Yeah. To echo that, Alex, it's like, this is the type of role that, actors wait a lifetime for. And we're so lucky and so blessed to have landed. I remember getting the call from my agent, and same thing. I was screaming it out in the streets. I saw Alex, which was weird because I didn't know him at the time. So it was really weird to see two guys yelling in the streets, but I screamed, and I remember hanging up the phone, and I to be honest, I broke down and cried. I was just, being a lifelong gamer, being such a massive fan of Marvel and the comics, the MCU before it, like getting that call it's still overwhelming to me, and it's still a little bit surreal that we got to experience this, but I'm very, very blessed and very thankful that I got to work with everyone, this cast, crew, Eidos, everyone.
What about you, Bob?
I mean, it was a bizarre experience because I auditioned a number of times through stages for the game. And the last one I remember where I went into Eidos was a final voice check. And when I was leaving, I'm pretty sure it was Steve walking me to the elevator, and he was giving me the like, it looks good. And the door, and I was like, great. And the doors of the elevator closed. And then I cried the whole way ride down in the elevator. I've worked on many games as lead characters and been replaced at the end of a process by a bigger named actor. It happens all the time in games, especially because it's so easy just to be like, slap so-and-so on there. Yeah. And I've done like the stunts, the voice, the acting choice, and then been replaced at the end. And people will never know that I did those things. So every day I went to work thinking I was going to be replaced on this, all the way up to when we did the interviews for the art book even. And the guy said, so the exact same question. How'd you feel when you got the part? I'm like, I'm not sure still if I have it. I'll wait till the credits scroll and I see myself. And it's like, you're doing the book interview. I think you're good. I can tell you have the part. I was like, hey, it's been a few years, but still, until we get there, I'd like to know. So that's it. It was surreal the entire time. It's surreal to me. Even Jason was so sweet. He's one of the biggest Marvel fans I've ever known in my life. And he gave us figurines of our characters. And I literally have Groot on my desk in front with the Guardians of the Galaxy poster above it. Everybody going to get there. Hold on. It's on.
Oh, they all got him.
Because I keep him wrapped around a white tree as well. And we all like... even that day that he gave these, like, that broke my heart too, because Jason worked at the casting house as well, and he had these all in a sealed box in a room in the back that I would often look at while we were working on the process. So it was, it's insane and wonderful, and again, it still feels like I haven't come down from floating on the high of having this role. I mean, as Kim said, loving the MCU, I'm like, when I saw the film, the We Are Groot line had me in tears in the film, and to get to play a character that had such an emotional impact on me felt like an honor.
Yeah.
Aw, Gain Lovely. Yeah, hey, Jason, follow that.
Yeah, I'm going to be straight up honest. I was terrified and happy, ecstatic at the same time, because I knew I did a decent job of the audition, but I don't think I quite felt somewhere I kind of had a little bit of doubt, and the rest of the cast can attest to it because they know how I felt during it. I knew I did a good job during the audition, but I wasn't really sure, could I sustain this for 4 years? Like, play the character and bring what was necessary to it. I just didn't know. Hadn't played anything this big in a long, long time. And because so many of Drax's characteristics are alien, like, you know, he speaks in a different way and has different rhythms and whatnot, could I really sustain that? So, yeah, I'm just very happy and really, really grateful to the fans and all the comments and everything that everyone has said. And the reaction has just, I'm overwhelmed, honestly, guys. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. So, you know, I'm just really glad that I won't go down in history as the guy that flarked up the character of Drax. Yeah.
And a huge shout out to Eidos Montreal for taking the risk in so many eyes of casting Canadian actors to play lead roles in their games, because this is not the first time and hopefully will not be the last. But it's such a blessing for us.
Thanks for casting Canadian.
Absolutely. Thank you. Man.
Thanks for casting people within a 6-hour drive of my house. I felt like Millhouse and Spinal Tap, where it's just like, today we are driving on Route 401. It's like, oh, that's only 7 miles from my house.
There was a couple of times during COVID when we were in lockdown and like quarantining that we would travel together.
Yeah, we carpooled.
just to be safe.
Yeah.
Nice.
We had it was such a great couple of years of just bonding.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I miss you guys.
I love you guys.
Yeah.
You too, brother.
Yeah.
Aw. Well, on that emotional note, I believe it's a great time to sign off, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody who contributed to the live stream. Thank you, everybody, for typing in your questions, all the hilarity it brought. Your insightful questions have been absolutely great. This is not the end of the coverage that this channel is doing on this game. We have interviewed the behind-the-scenes geniuses and went into great detail and spoilerific territory of some of the scenes that have made both grown men and women cry. So please stick around for that. Subscribe to this channel. It would be deeply appreciated. And thank you, everyone here, for spending time with little old me. Because
thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. We love you.
Because I'm legally not allowed to be outside right now, and you made me forget that for 2 hours.
Aww.
So I appreciate that a lot.
Happy lockdown.
Yeah, I don't have an ankle bracelet. This is Quebec. Just to specify to everybody out there in America who's like, what the hell are you talking about? But anyway, appreciate all of you and appreciate everyone watching. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Woo!
Bye,
awesome.
guys.
Bye.
Without an audience, that sounds very different. All right, bye, everyone.
Ciao.
See you soon.